Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Health Talks with Dr. Trin. The one show, maybe the only show, that shows you the path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time. And today we're going to try and do more than that. We got multiple conversations about multiple new products that have been certified by the Physicians CBD Council. Here to tell us more is our coordinator with that fine organization, Elaine Blanchette. Welcome.
Hi, Paul, and hi, Mandy, and hi, Davina. I'm Elaine Blanchette, and soon we're going to be able to do a deep fake of Dr. Trin so that he's always with us. But today he's at the hospital in the emergency room, so he couldn't join us. Again, I'm Elaine Blanchette, and I'm the president of the Physicians CBD Council. My partner, Dr. Trin, and I think you've heard of us a few times by now, right? And I have two very special ladies with us today, Paul. One is Davina Kaonohi from Element Apothec, and I have Mandy Lile from Potency No. 710. And I mean, I love these ladies, and they know it. I use their products, and they know it. But more so, they've been certified by the Physician CBD Council, and that's something we're going to talk about later. But I would like to start with, say welcome, Mandy.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
And did we get close to your names here? I know we practiced 5 times here this morning here.
Perfect for me.
Perfect for you. Okay.
And then
the Hawaiian name we do rather quickly here, but
yes. No, I did it right.
You did it right.
And
okay.
we have Davina also with us. Davina, welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me today. Excited for the conversation. And yeah, the name was good.
All right.
But Paul, I mean, that I put it in front of me because I know Davina now, but for 3 years at least. But every time I want to pronounce her name, all I see is letters in my mind and I can't put the word together. And I think, Davina, can you explain to us the background of your name, Kaonohi?
Kaonohi, yeah, my dad's native Hawaiian. And the interesting thing with the Hawaiian language is there's only 13 characters. There's 5 vowels and 8 consonants. And so oftentimes what we know from the English language is so different because we have so many more letters. So having so many vowels in any word is often really confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the time with the luau, because when they move their hips, it's so smooth. They don't need to say many words because they have this Hawaiian luau. So they're dancing with the hips, talking.
So are you suggesting that Davina should dance this morning here?
Maybe, let's see where this goes.
But when I lived 9 years in Asia, and in Singapore particularly, the language, the English language, we call it Singlish, is extremely simplified, right? And you say, why do we have all these words? When they express themselves, they conduct business, they become multimillionaire with way, way much of a simpler language than what we do. And it's so adorable. So anyways, there's many ways of communicating, and let's communicate this morning about CBD.
Yes. And
maybe I would like to start with Mandy. Mandy, I mean, clearly you called your company Potency No. 710. You aimed from the beginning, I guess, to be as prestigious as Chanel. And you're on your way there, very much so. We've seen you in Vogue, we've seen you in Elle, we've seen you to so many magazines lately. You're clearly on your way there. So talk about this company, talk about you, your story, on how you got there. Give us a little bit of background.
I don't know if we have all that much time, but I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. I come from a background of aesthetics. I'm an esthetician. I've been an esthetician for 27 years now, which sounds really old, but I've been an esthetician for 27 years. I worked alongside a physician in the first 10 years of my aesthetic career and opened my very first skincare clinic at the age of 20. So imagine I'm in a very small town. I open up something that's probably as close to Bloomingdale's as that town is ever going to get. And then, even then, I was sourcing plant-based ingredients. We know we couldn't touch cannabinoids then. Although my father has a history of touching cannabinoids, a lot of people say I'm selling redemption at this point because my father spent 15 years in prison for cannabinoids. So,
oh my goodness. Nice.
I'm selling redemption here, and I decided to do it through beauty. And I have a gift of taking any ugly situation or any ugly, there's no ugly skin to me, but any damaged skin and turning it into something beautiful, just the way I did all my life to get through my life, is to take the ugly and try to figure out how to make it pretty. So
Wow.
I have a gift of doing that. And I worked hands-on behind the chair for about 10 years at my spa. So when I moved out to LA, my now fiance, Harry, decided he was going into the cannabis industry. And you can imagine, I was scared to death. I just came from Kentucky. You still went to jail for rolling papers. So I was scared to death that we were going into the cannabis industry. And I was like, I'd never wanted to marry my father. They always say you end up with someone like your father, which is funny because I think this is how Davina and I are so connected throughout this journey, is through our fathers. So it's really funny when I'm sitting here on podcasts and different Zooms, and Davina is always there. And it's like her and I are really trolling through here. So it's been really nice to have her next to me along the way as well. So it's always good to see Davina. But I've been in skincare for 27 years. When we went into cannabis, I was hearing the buzzwords CBD, CBG, all the different words coming out that were going to be able to be shipped across 50 states. And I thought, well, I know skincare, I know plants, and I know I've been conscious about ingredients all my life. When my son was born, I even dug into what diapers he's going to wear, how many less ingredients are in Honest diapers versus a Pampers diaper. And it just really got, I got really in depth when my son was born, almost to a point where I was reading every label, which is good, but it can get a little crazy. So I was laying in a bed one day and decided, you know what, I really should think about developing something with a formulator now that we're going to be able to sell this cannabinoid across 50 states. So I was reading and thinking, what would I want my name to be? And I just kept reading. The more and more I kept reading into the cannabinoids and cannabis, I kept hearing the word, the potency, the potency of the plant, the potency of this. And so I thought, let me look up what that even means. And so I look up, what does potency mean? And the one impression means to make an impression. And that is what I'm here to do. And I think that doing it through beauty gives people a very good firsthand at watching what the product can actually do topically on your skin, where if you're taking something internal, it's hard to really see how that's helping you internally. But if you have a sunburn, per se, and you put it on that night and the next day your sunburn's gone, that pretty much showed you what kind of magical powers this plant has. So I'm doing it through the beauty side of things. And so that's why I tend to play a lot on the beauty side and do publications like Vogue and Allure and Elevated Luxury Living, because I'm creating a counterculture around this. So it's become a lifestyle brand.
So what does your product do? What specifically does it do?
My very first product was intended on being a anti-aging beauty serum, but I'm on my 5th year now, and I can't tell you the amount of emails that I've gotten from the people that are telling me that they're using my gold serum from things as far as burns from the stove, curling iron burns, tattoo healing, brown recluse spider bites, very dermatological skin issues that, we're not allowed to really say too much from FDA, what we can do. But we're watching a lot of things that a steroid is not able to fix this fast, if I could say that. So we're watching a lot of dermatological skin issues get healed in a very quick period. But I've also had someone reach out and say it helped with shingles. So everybody that's had that bottle of gold has utilized it on everything from head to toe. I even have a lady that puts it on the soles of her feet, because CBD and CBG is an ingredient, whether it's in a beauty product or in a pain salve, it's still intended for one purpose. And so I have a lady that puts it on the bottom of her feet, and she says she can tell the day that she doesn't put it on because her feet hurt. So I've had everything used for it, but I intended it to be a beauty product, but I think it's gone beyond beauty.
And I'm going to add one more thing, because I use it every day on my skin at night. And by the way, my sisters, because we usually say, oh yeah, but it's your DNA. And when your sisters say, what the hell do you do with your skin to have a skin like this? But I use it, just add one more thing, on my cold sores.
Oh, yeah.
And it really helps. Let's talk to Davina now and hear her story. Davina, Element Apothec. How did it start?
Yeah, and I want to say, and Mandy, as she mentioned, I've also been around cannabis my whole life, and it's something that we share in common with our fathers. Although my father didn't go to jail, my uncle did, and I worried every day sick for my dad that he was going to go to jail, especially with all the stuff with DARE in school, and felt like I was lying to teachers and police officers when there was they would talk and do assemblies around DARE and ask if you know anyone that does cannabis and heroin and cocaine. I mean, they would put it along those same things, and I would sit there with my hands between my legs, like not raising my hand because I thought that they would know. And I thought on the weekends we'd visit my dad that they would be following me to his house. I always would look around thinking they're going to know I'm lying and they're going to come get him. But my dad explained to me the power of this plant. He was a Vietnam vet and had severe PTSD, and we understood the weekends we went to my dad's house. If his stash box was full, it was a good weekend with my dad. If his stash box was empty, and we would always look, we'd lift up the wooden box on his coffee table and we're like, oh, that meant we probably weren't going to leave the house. We would be hearing my dad have, nightmares. It was always tough. So that was an early history that I had with cannabis, and something that Mandy and I have talked about a lot in terms of the influence of business. But specifically for Element Apothec, my background is more on the business strategy operation side, but I've always been really focused on clean living. My son is on the autism spectrum, and from the moment he was born, I already was that person that would tell people to look at their ingredients and do they know what they're putting on their bodies, and look at even shampoo and conditioner, which people often don't look at. But when my son was born, even more so did I become focused on clean living and taking care of ourselves, and what alternatives could you consider using instead of medication, which is what they wanted to put my son on. So in parallel, my great aunt was also at that time going through multiple medical conditions. My great aunt was quite sick and had basically turned to herself to find healing. She started exploring plant-based medicine and plant-based remedies to see what could help heal her. And through that process, she also realized that cannabinoids were a great addition to a lot of these other plant-based ingredients, and started making her own tinctures and lotions and balms. She made products even for myself, for my son as well. And so through that, she helped many people. Many people took notice. Over 8 years, I think she created 43 custom formulations, helping people with very specific functional needs, and had come to me and said, you know how to grow business, you know how to do this, so let's take these products from the kitchen to the world. That really became the start of Element Apothec. But I also knew that I didn't have background in training. I wasn't an esthetician, I wasn't a medical doctor. And so I brought on a whole medical advisory board. Dr. Swathi Varanasi came on, who's an integrative pharmacist, as our co-founder. Dr. Marvin Singh came on as our chief medical advisor, who was at the time working at UC Irvine in their integrative medical practice. We have a dermatologist, a OB-GYN. We have a whole team to say, okay, now let's look at these amazing formulations she made, and let's make sure they're safe. Let's make sure they're effective. Let's make sure that each of these ingredients works in the way it's supposed to. There's not just ingredients, similar to how Mandy formulates. There's not just ingredients in the products because we want them to be on the label. There's ingredients in these products because they really work the way they're supposed to. And we use a multitude of products because each product serves a very specific purpose. So anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I'm going to take the seat of a consumer right now, or a customer. And there's, I think, something like 25,000 products out there right now on the market. There's people making it in the kitchen. There's people making it in laboratories, obviously, or manufacturing products. There's people that are white labeling it. There's people that just add CBD to a product that is existing. What makes your product different, or how will consumer know that a product is a better product, a higher quality product? Let's talk about that, because you guys spend a lot of time formulating your products. And why is it important, and what's different than formulating it this way versus adding a CBD compound to a product that is maybe good or maybe bad? But let's just talk about that for a moment. You want to start, Mandy? Because your facial expressions were going, please ask me this.
With me having a background in aesthetics and working with all the other plants in the plant kingdom, I worked with a product out of Paris, France called Yonka. And that product I was faithful to for nearly 20 years. And so I think they definitely inspired me and showed me what plants were already working that people had less sensitivities to, because there's a lot of people super sensitive to plant oils. So working hands-on and watching what's happening to the skin firsthand helped me tremendously. But I, in all honesty, feel like that we've had the car, we've had the wheels, and we've had all the right tools. But when cannabinoids became legal and we saw the inflammatory powers that it was producing, it was the motor that went into this car, if you ask me. It really got things going, because I could help someone clear their acne up in maybe a 15-day period without cannabinoids. Now that we've incorporating the cannabinoids in these very same ingredients that I've been working with, I can do it in a 3 to 5 day period. So just watching it firsthand and already having that history of working with lavender, rosemary, thyme, geranium, cypress, all these other essential oils, to me, it's been the missing motor. So I always wondered why my dad kept going to prison over a plant. I could not figure it out. And I'm glad that I didn't question it too much and was along for that ride. So he taught me a lot. And working alongside the physician, I think probably really prepared me for where I am now, because he was extremely into naturopathic herbs, more so than traditional big pharma medicine. So I've always utilized the plant. So I think the cannabinoids was just the missing ingredient, and because of the power of the inflammatory powers it has, and that's the root of all skin problems, is inflammation. So
you keep mentioning your father, you both of you do, and I guess I'd be remiss, I don't want to delve too deep into their backgrounds here, but obviously at a time when cannabis was criminalized, they sold or used the product. And what do they think today? I'm just amazed at the change that's taken place, not just legally, but in the public mind, the acceptance of using these plants that were demonized for so long here. I'll start with Mandy first.
I think that, well, my dad passed away last year, sadly. And it's sad because he had been clean for the last 10 years, and he had a problem with big pharma at one point. When he stopped, utilizing the cannabis, he went to that wrong doctor and got that wrong prescription, and then got hooked on pain medication. So I've watched both sides of the spectrum, and I've watched all walks of life walk in the house and get one or the other. And my dad watched me do a lot in the last 4 years before he passed last year. And actually, Johnson & Johnson got him in the end. I hate to say it on the podcast, but it's what happened. Big Pharma got him in the end. He ended up getting that, thing that everybody was pushing a few years ago, and it didn't work well with him. And so he got to watch me, and I think he was extremely proud. And I think he knew what he was doing back then wasn't really wrong. I think that he was like the rest of the hippies, and they were trying to wake the rest of the world up, kind of like the same scenario we're all in now.
Yeah.
So, Davina, your products are extremely pure of everything. I've tested it, both of you actually, and are organic and have a lot of ingredients into your formulations. How do consumers distinct, the quality of a product like this versus everything that's out there?
I think for consumers, it's really important. With anything today, to research the brand, look at who the founding team is, look at exactly what they're doing, look at customer reviews. And fortunately, also in the cannabinoid space, there's something called a COA, which is a certificate of authenticity. You can actually look and see what are the ingredients in the products. Are there metals? Are there pesticides? What's actually in there? So it's really important to look on the websites also of these products, or if you're in store at a dispensary or a store to look on the label, see if they have QR codes, or if you can ask the shop if there are COAs, to really look at the products and make sure that you're not taking in anything that can hurt you, especially, I mean, both the same internally or externally, right? If it's something you're ingesting, but also we now understand the impacts of what we're putting on our skin and how that impacts us as well. And yeah, it's something that we're really passionate about, because these are products that Mandy's creating, that I'm creating, to really help consumers, and you don't want to hurt them in any way or cause any negative implications for them by the ingredients that you're using. And I feel like as brands, we have a responsibility to really hold ourselves accountable to say, I'm doing the best I can for my consumers, and that may mean more expensive ingredients, that may mean more research, that may mean it's going to take longer to put this product out. But if our goal is to make a difference in somebody's life and impact them positively, it's absolutely our responsibility to do that. And unfortunately, the consumers can't trust a lot of brands, and so they have to do their work to say, is this a brand that I can actually trust or not?
How important?
Yes, and I think that that is so important. And also, you mentioned something, is the price of the product. Usually, a good quality product will be, I mean, it's not the only criteria, for God's sake, no, because then people can just make more profit. But normally, a cheap product will have that they compete just with the price, will not necessarily be a good quality product, because it's hard to make extremely good quality product in the hemp industry with a cheap product, a cheap price.
So you're telling me that Boone's Farm or Mad Dog wine isn't as good as pick some upper end brand?
Woodford Reserve, yeah.
Yeah, it's highly likely that what you find at 7-Eleven or at the gas station is not the kind of product that you'd put into your body. And to me, it's like terrible because of the industry that like it's not rendering just, it doesn't help the actual industry. It doesn't help the plant. That is a really, really good plant that has so many medicinal benefit. And then suddenly everybody is going on the trend, the trendy strike of, oh, I'm going to make money with CBD, and I'm penetrating 7-Eleven because I have connections, or I'm penetrating, I'm naming names, not just so that we give an idea of the size and the scope of distribution, but it's not necessarily a good product. So it's not, and people are taking it like one time and say, oh, it didn't work. It's not an aspirin. It's not an aspirin. So it's talking about.
One thing that's really important too that a lot of people overlook is, even when we bring a new bottle into our facility, that particular bottle that we've ordered has to be tested for heavy metals as well. If you get someone that's making a product out of their kitchen and they're not even starting with testing the specific bottle that the product's going in, you already could be heading into a disaster of heavy metals in your product. So testing the actual bottle itself and the packaging is important.
Yes, absolutely. And let's talk about the certification, because in the certification from the Physician CBD Council, we take the product in its bottle or in its packaging, if it's a tube or if it's a squeezable package, because of the potential transfer of microbes, of bacteria, of lead, because we've seen a lot of cheap packaging that is coming in from different countries, or just people that want to make a cheap packaging that will actually look good, but the dropper sometimes has lead in the paint in which they do the gradation of the markings of the dropper. You have the actual glass often that transfer actually, heavy metals also. The little rubber squeezer that actually leaks and, bacteria go inside. So all of that is happening, but it doesn't look bad on the shelf. It looks good on the shelf. The label looks good. That's why we test the entire process in its final stage, so that we can see if the packaging is transferring toxins. We can see if the product is pure. And clearly, ladies, you have gone through our heavy testing of everything, and you have passed. So congratulations on that. And so what does it mean to you, Davina, for instance, what does it mean to you to have the PCC, Physicians Quality Verified seal?
It really means a lot. And the thing is, as I mentioned, from a consumer perspective, it's really hard for them to trust a product at this point. There's so many products on the market. I mean, even in the US, there's so many ingredients that we use here that are banned in other countries. And so getting clean, safe products is hard. And you can't just say, trust me, because the consumer can't just trust you. And so having the seal really does give, it's a trustworthy quality. It's to say that we've been vetted by a source and a group of people that are putting a lot of effort into what the seal means. There's a lot of qualifications around it, a lot of things that you have to ensure that your product is, including the packaging, or is not, to be able to get this. So for us, it's a validation to say, you can, this is another way that you can trust us. It's not just us telling you, but this is a group of physicians that have really come together to create something to build trustworthiness in an industry that has lost some trust with the consumer. So we're really thankful for it. It really is a strenuous process to go through, but it holds you accountable to say we are who we are and our products are actually what they are, and the ingredients in them are what they are as well. So I appreciate you creating this, because it really is important to set aside the brands that are trying to do it right from the ones that really don't care at this point.
Yeah. Mandy, you ran with it. Like, you put your seal on your label and under your arm and just went. You ran with it. You're in Vogue, you're in Allure, you're in so many magazines. How did that help, position your product above the crowded market?
It was everything to me, because I worked alongside a physician for 10 years. I know the importance of having a physician next to you, educating you, backing you a little bit. But the thing that's really funny is that this seal is more important to me than an FDA seal at this point, because I'm watching what the FDA allows in so many products, just like Davina said. I think there's like a handful that we're not allowed to work with in the US, but you go over to EU standards, which is how I build all my products out, is based on the EU standards. There's over 1,200, 1,300 that you're not allowed to touch. And I just, my advice to any brand going forward, look at the EU standards when you're building your product, because they're a little more strategic about what they don't allow in there. But I don't trust the FDA like I used to. Many years ago, you would trust that a seal. So to me, your seal is above what that FDA seal could do for me at this point, because I've watched who they gave their seal to. You guys are much more strategic, which to me makes me feel proud. So thank you.
Let me ask one question, and we've had this on another show, and maybe it relates to it, or maybe I'm tying two things together that don't relate. But there's been a lot of debate about the term organic. And everybody wants to say that's a popular term. My wife is drawn to it. I guess I'm drawn to it. No pesticides and, all this kind of stuff. And yet, I don't think there is a standard for that use of that term. I think pretty much you can slap it on. A lot of people stretch the truth and apply it when if you really looked at it. I don't think there is a pure standard for organic. Am I correct in that, Elaine? Is organic kind of just a generic term that anybody can use? And if so, I think it kind of points to the problem that we have of deciding what's really in these things.
I'm going to let Davina answer that, because Davina has done a lot of research on organic products.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting, a lot of people say organic. Technically, you're not supposed to have it on your label unless you actually have gone through the process of getting certified organic. But that's not to stop anybody from saying they're organic. There's so many products that are out there that say organic, and there's just not enough opportunities for it to really be policed, per se, for people to be questioned on it. And so it's misleading, and a lot of people don't really understand. And though it can say organic, and as Mandy mentioned, I mean, if you look at Europe and Japan and Canada, there's over 2,500 banned ingredients when you look at these countries that we can use here. So it could be organic, but it can have ingredients that are organic here that are banned in other countries. So you really have to look beyond just what the label says and really look at the ingredients. And again, do the research on the company and the COAs. It's the problem, especially in this consumer product space, whether it's food or supplements, that people just use whatever words they want to gain customers to buy their products.
Right. And you keep saying
exactly.
you keep saying
Especially-
COA. What's a COA? Is that a certificate of authenticity or something?
It's a certificate of analysis, and it goes through and breaks it down. And it's important to see, because some companies will put it down from the base ingredients, but as Mandy said and Helene said, there's also the packaging, and so you want to make sure that a company is doing the certificate of analysis after they finish the production of their product to make sure that you're actually getting a realistic view of what's actually in the product or potential contamination from the production of that product, the manufacturing, and even the packaging.
Okay. You were going to say something, Mandy?
It's kind of like the food companies will say low fat or no sugar, but then they throw in all these other substances, chemicals that are worse for you than the raw sugar. So it's a marketing problem.
Yeah.
Media.
And so let's go back. Let's run with that for a second. So is the public aware of the, I'm trying to come up with some nice term.
Poison?
But with the,
I can answer that one, Paul, because basically, I can
I was
answer
trying
that
to be
one.
nice. She went right to it here, but right. I mean, there's a lot of crap in a lot of this stuff here that you wouldn't, you'd be shocked if it was in there. And I don't think the public knows to even, they just think, oh, this is plant and it says organic and whatever here, and it can't possibly have anything.
They've become, I think in the last 3 years, COVID brought on a lot of people questioning a lot of things. And I believe the consumers are becoming more aware. But there are still some, obviously, that are not. But I see a lot more people than not talking about ingredients these days. So I do believe we're getting somewhere, and with social media working so quickly, you can put a post up and so many people can see it versus that newspaper that used to come around by Pony Express,
Right.
So we get news out faster. And I do see a lot of people speaking about the dangers of specific ingredients in our food and in our skincare now, more so than ever.
Yes, and Paul, the COA, Certificate of Analysis, sometimes, just like urine tests, can be tampered with, right? In a sense that you can, with today, with the technology that we have available, changing a PDF that you receive or tampering with a PDF and just changing the data can be done. And so that's why we try, but we succeed in the Physician CBD Council to actually test and verify. So if it's on our website, if it's listed on our website, then it means that they have a real certificate of analysis that we have tested with the third-party lab that we trust, and that it is a real, authentic quality testing. And I'd like to ask those consumers, can you read a certificate of analysis? Do you understand your blood test, Paul? Do you understand your blood test? So a certificate of analysis is very similar to a blood test. It has a lot of factors and codes and things like that, and it will say pass, not pass, or borderline. You have no idea what it means if you're not into the business. So even though they have a certificate of analysis that they can look at and it would be a real one, then it's, how do you interpret that? How do you know it's the factors that are actually written on it, right?
I feel like that with the cannabinoid skincare brand and, with the seal, it definitely is giving people more certainty. I definitely think that they're going to see that seal, and that seal is going to build up a reputation, just like the FDA, which I don't, believe they have the best reputation, but your seal is definitely going to go everywhere my product goes, and we're going to talk about it everywhere we go.
It must be frustrating to watch others in the industry just do all sorts of shenanigans. I'm Irish. I'll use shenanigans. There's a soft
That's a good
word.
one.
And get away with it, where they're claiming this is that, and it's not, where they don't disclose what's in it, where you wonder, and it seems like there's lots of things to wonder about. You're focusing on the safety issues. What is in the product? Has it been contaminated? Like anything you're going to put into your body. We just assume, it's on the shelf at the gas station. Somebody checked this out. Surely this couldn't get that far without somebody certifying it here, or Mother's Market or anywhere else, or on the internet, wherever you want to see this thing. Safety is one issue. I always wonder about potency. We've talked a lot about that in this show. You think you're getting something and it might not have the potency, or might have a lot more potency than you think it is. And so that goes then to your experience with the product. Somebody said, try CBD. I tried it. I didn't like it. It didn't work. Or it did something that I didn't want it to do. It was too much or too little. It tarnishes the whole industry. And it must be frustrating to watch this happen.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating because a lot of people are still scared to even try skincare. They're asking me, am I going to fail a drug test if I use this lotion? Which is a great question. It's a great question.
Right.
But the amount of testing that they make us go through compared to what L'Oreal probably has to go through, and the amount of proof that we're proving to the people and showing these tests and seals, it's a lot more than what the other big box brands are going through. So if people are afraid to try a product with cannabinoids in it, if they're looking for this seal, then they're safer than they are going to Target and buying some product off the shelf there, I'd assume at this point. It's scary. You don't never know. You're right.
What do you think, Davina? I mean, is this a constant source of frustration? You guys have made a commitment to do it right, and you've invested the extra time, energy, and money. I'm sure Elaine doesn't do this for free here. Something you're hiring an independent lab to do these things. You're putting yourself out there as you're proving what you got. Most people still at this point aren't. It's the Wild West. Packaging is important. Price is important. Claims are important. Verbs.
Ingredients are number one, yeah.
And what should be important is what's in the product, and that seems to get lost in the shuffle for many of these.
Yeah.
As Mandy said, I mean, it's really frustrating because it's hard enough to get people to understand the value of cannabinoids, whether internally or on your skin. It's a lot to educate them that we have this endocannabinoid system, that this is why cannabinoids work and it impacts different receptors. There's so much that goes into just getting the consumer to understand. They're finally teaching about it in medical school, but a lot of doctors didn't have that training. And then they try a product that doesn't have the same quality, that people don't care what's in the product on shelf, and then they say it doesn't work. But it doesn't work oftentimes either because the company putting that product out there hasn't really done the benefit to the consumer to put good quality products. As you mentioned, the potency might not be correct, right? So oftentimes you'll see, I mean, I've seen it on shelf so many times where it says CBD, and then you look and it's such a small amount of cannabinoids that it's going to have no impact on a consumer. But what all they walk away with is, I've tried CBD and it didn't work, whether that was skincare, ingestible. And so it's really frustrating because we're trying to hold ourselves accountable to really, help the consumer with Mandy's products, with our products internally, externally. And you hear so many times from people, I've tried it and it didn't work. Well, what was the dosing that you used? What was the milligrams of cannabinoids? Teaching them about the education, breaking the stigmas down. So there is a lot, and it really is frustrating. But all we can do is do the best that we can in creating the products and working with organizations like the Physician CBD Council to say, hey, look at these companies that are trying to do it right, that are creating products that have dosing that's actually going to work and be impactful on you, that are clean products. So I'm happy that you brought up this, because it is something that we all talk about all of the time. And it's frustrating because you have to then win back the customer.
Yeah, right.
After they've already gone through, like Mandy said, the stigma of even trying the products to begin with.
At some point, does the industry, forget about the federal government, does the industry itself need to, or is it moving towards policing itself here, where they're going to somehow embrace these things, encourage, endorse third-party verifications, push for more of this stuff here, because they don't want to be labeled as, that's just a charlatan, that didn't do anything here, that's not effective here. What do you think, Elaine? Is the industry, or is it just because it's the Wild West, nobody wants regulation and anybody's going to do whatever they want to do, and in that world a lot of crazy stuff's getting done here?
So I'm going to compare this to the vitamin industry or the supplement industry, because the supplement industry is self-regulated, and most of it is self-regulated, right? You have the USDA seal that you can have, that they have been tested, but they usually are tested at the beginning. They're not tested through time. So if you change your ingredients, if you change your manufacturer, like you can actually your product can degrade over time and no one's going to check on it. And then you have a full industry of people that have products from everywhere just because it's not regulated, right? And I think that unfortunately for the industry, it is the same for the hemp industry, because we have to make a distinction between the hemp industry and the cannabis industry that has THC in it. Because what Mandy and what Davina are talking about are products that have CBD from the hemp and not from the cannabis plant that has THC in it, which then needs to be into a dispensary and has a intoxicating effect, what we call the high effect, right? So you don't have that with hemp. You have extremely low or none at all THC in it that cannot intoxicate people. And it is very much like the supplement industry. It can be anything, and I believe it will continue to be anything. So unless you have certain companies or certain organizations like ours that will be there to do a spot check on companies for the safety of consumers, it will not be different than the vitamin industry. And people take gummies and vitamins every day and supplements every day, and they have no idea what's in their products and do not. But the minute they go for the cheaper version and the low cost and to the point where you have probably very bad products that don't do anything good to you, but does a lot of bad things to your body. So you have to have quality, and you have to have a neutral third party that spot check the industry to make sure that it continues to be on a consistent basis.
I did some work in the natural products world many years ago. This is way before anybody imagined that cannabis would ever move out of the shadows and become legalized in any way, shape, or form, much less that CBD would be in CVS or any other place like that. I remember these conversations. On the one hand, everybody says, we don't want the feds coming in and regulating everything here, and that's expensive and hard and difficult.
They can't. I mean, there's no way they can do everything, right? I mean, let's be honest here. There's no way they can have enough inspectors and auditors and everything to be able to regulate everything. So there's no way you can ask private enterprise to self-regulate themselves, because they're going to self-regulate themselves towards the profit, not towards necessarily the consumer safety. So that's why you have to have a third party that is completely neutral and say, and
that was the problem that all the supplements people were doing. Supplements, nutraceuticals, that was a popular term. We're going to put a little bit of something in Fritos or Cheetos or everything here. It's going to say with, something's magic in it here. And that's why it's not just organic Cheetos. It's got this magic nutraceutical, this magic herb, this magic vitamin D or something added to it here. And honest to God, they'd go round and round. We don't know how to regulate it ourselves. We don't want somebody else to regulate it. And yet, those dirty rats down there, I know they're not selling it. I know what they're selling is junk. I know it's a lie what they're telling people here. I know it has all sorts of other stuff in it. And unfortunately, it's 10 times cheaper than everything else out there. And it's beautifully packaged and wonderfully marketed, and people are embracing it. And they're going to walk away with a bad taste. They're going to say this doesn't do anything because they didn't get what they thought they were buying. So we go round.
Let me ask, I know, right? Let me ask both of you ladies, I'll start with Mandy. What do you think the consumer needs to do? So we know we have the seal, and I know, but what do you think the consumer has to really check, and what's the basic that they should check at least when they want to buy products?
Oh, wow. I always look at reviews personally, because I like to see first what everybody's saying. Then I go do my own study on it. I think checking a current certificate of analysis is important. I think checking reviews is extremely important. And I think checking anything backed by a physician at this point is important because we have nobody policing us right now. So to be able to call and say, hey, can you police us, Helene, is very, very important. So just keep policing us.
She looks like a cop too, doesn't she? She has that kind of.
I'm a nice cop, huh?
Yeah.
Davina.
What do you think, Davina? What would you tell people to be aware of? And are they aware? I think too many of us are just rushing. I'll give you before you answer the question, I'll give you the scenario I see all the time. My wife embraces all sorts of. I
knew you were going to talk about your wife.
We always bring my wife into this because she's the consumer you're trying to reach. She's so sympathetic to trying things. She's so anti-drugs and pills. She wants to have natural remedies. She wants to have alternative remedies. And where does she go? A place like Mother's. And they have 5 million of them on the shelf. And some 18-year-old kid is advising her, dude, this one's really good. Oh, this is the best. And I'm like, how does this kid know? This kid doesn't know. And she's taking that. Or she looks at the packaging and she comes home and say, why did you buy that? Well, look, it says this on the package, right? Oh, okay. That's it. I don't think the public is really aware of the problem here. Otherwise, they'd be screaming for more certifications like this. I think they would be.
We just got to stay in our own gardens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, how do you start this revolution? How do you get people aware of all these issues here? Are they aware? I don't think they are aware.
I don't think they're aware. It's having these conversations, right? It's bringing it out to people. It's the companies like the Physician CBD Council that are coming to make people say like, hey, maybe I need to start paying attention to things because, yeah, I mean, where do you start as a consumer? I agree with Mandy. You look at the reviews. If you're at the store, pull up their website, make sure they're a legitimate company. Look at the founding team. You know, do they have the expertise to actually create these types of products like Mandy's background or our teams with the medical doctors? Look at reviews, do your research instead of just making these quick decisions. It's really important. And a lot of brands have, direct to consumer products too. So you can really go through their website and see who they are. Do they have good content? Are they pushing out education? Can you learn from them about the ingredients that they're using? These are all of the things that you have to put in when you're thinking about products like Mandy is skincare, and ours, we kind of blend between skincare and ingestible wellness products. You really have to care about what you're putting inside your body, what you're putting outside of your body.
Isn't that the whole point of natural products, that we suddenly want to care?
It's to help, right? Yeah, it's to make a difference. But really, it is these conversations. And I was like, we need to have more and more of these conversations so people start to become aware and really understand the importance of the research that they're doing for the products that they're using.
I'll give you my take on it. It's everything you said plus one. Think of when you listen to these, what's ever on the package, what's missing? What are they not saying? Is it just generic, wow, wonderful, super, best ever? Or are they trying to be transparent? The more somebody's trying to be transparent and break down the ingredients and have a seal and have a place to go to learn more about it and to see videos about it and everything like that, there's an attempt being made there to tell you we're trying to be as transparent as we can. Don't just take it on face value. Dive deeper. And if they're not giving you anywhere to dive deeper, if they don't give you any backup certification, any backup information, any additional research that you can do, question that. Why?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good point. The Physician CBD Council is a group of physicians that are about 35 to 40 of them, and they've come from every background, from Dr. Trin, that we all know so well, who's a specialist in brain health and gut health and nutrition.
On the board of Alzheimer's here locally.
On the board of Alzheimer's and so many other organizations. He's very involved in so many ways, believes in the plant natural product. But we also have dermatologists and I can't say. Thank you.
Right.
And
hard one.
We have, pediatrician. We have them all, and we have the whole scope of all the fields and the specialties. And they really care about consumer safeties, and they care about educating, and they care about being able to have more research. And Paul, we're doing, as you know, we've done a couple of podcasts on that, but we're helping with the Michigan University to recruit people for pain management study that is done in Michigan University. So the idea is we don't take position when it comes to the Physician CBD Council. We are extremely neutral. We don't sell products. We don't make money from the products. We don't endorse a product in particular. We love all of those that have been certified and that passed the certification. 30% of them fail the certification.
I think that's important to note. It is.
I think it's important to note. Yes,
you don't send Elaine a check and she sends you a certificate here. Yeah, right.
Yeah. They fail the certification because of all of the different pesticides and lead content or things like that. They continue to sell on the market, obviously, when that happens. So that's why it's important to be able to have a place where you go and that it's neutral. On the website, you have in the quality product, verified products section, you have all of the products that have been so far passing the test.
So give us the website again for this Physician CBD Council, and then we'll end by having them each give us websites for their products here.
Yeah, and it's a mouthful, but it's Physicians with an S, CBD Council, COUNCIL.com. Right. And if you want to reach Davina at Element Apothec, what's your website, Davina?
It's Element, like the word element, and then Apothec, APOTHEC.com. And we also do one-on-one consultations on our website. So if you're trying to understand the products, and lots of great content on there to learn what is CBD and how do you incorporate these types of products into your wellness routine.
That's a good point, Davina. A lot of people are asking me, so how do I know which dosage am I supposed to have? And we all know that each body is actually different, right? And each person reacts differently to different things. So we say go low and, gradually increase. What's low?
I mean, everybody's different, but it depends, right? If you're taking a tincture, low might be just a quarter of the dropper to start with, and you might do that for a few days and see how your body reacts. And the thing is with dosing, it's not dependent on age, it's not dependent on the size of your body, it's not dependent on your background. It's different for everybody because our endocannabinoid systems operate quite differently for each individual person. There's so many factors that come into play. So you might start out at a quarter and then maybe go up to a half and then 3/4 and then a full, or if you're taking gummies, maybe you're starting at, a small milligram and then slowly kind of moving up in terms of how you're actually using it. Skincare is a little bit different because you want to make sure you have a product that has enough cannabinoids in there that it's actually going to be impactful. Because you might see some products that have really nothing in them, but you don't have to worry necessarily about it being too much or not enough when you're putting it on topically on the skin. It's more ingestible that you have to worry about the dosing.
Start low, go slow. All right.
Yeah, start low, go slow. But I think there's another point that is important, and we'll talk in a moment with Mandy about the skin part. But what's the effect that people are supposed to feel? You think you go low? And I know the answer to that, but I'm asking you, you go low, but when do you know, okay, it's actually working, since there's no not psychological, but intoxicating effect. There's no, so when do I know that I've reached the right, how do you ramp up, and when do I know that I've reached the right amount?
I mean, it is something to think about, right? Because we take vitamin C, we take vitamin D, we take calcium. We don't take vitamin D, calcium. We're like, I'm so strong, my bones are so amazing. You know that it's important to take every day. Every human being that's over the right, adult age should be taking cannabinoids internally to really help bring their body back to level and homeostasis and manage inflammation, because so much of what we present externally, both even on our skin as well as our sleep and stress and all of that stuff, is just getting our body back to balance. But what are you supposed to feel if you're titrating up? It depends on the function of that product. So for example, we have a sleep tincture, rest, relax, recover. If it is that you're trying to use the function of sleep for that specific product, then the goal would be to get to more restful nights where you're waking up feeling a little bit more refreshed. And it's going to take time for your body to get there. It's not like tonight I take it and I'm going to sleep. It's a process to get there. Like anything, like we exercise, it takes time to build muscle, and to build, you start eating better, it takes time to be healthy. So it's really important to also think this isn't just a quick overnight fix, but what you should start to feel little by little incrementally is, if it's for sleep, maybe you're resting better. If it's to reduce stress, your day should start to feel a little bit more calmer. If it's for wellness, you should start to feel a little bit better. Maybe you're not getting every new cold that comes around or something like that. But it is really important to understand it takes time, like anything, but really it's important to stick with the routine and wait to see the results over a longer period of time, not just an overnight magic fix.
That's excellent. But it goes a little faster, Mandy, when it comes to products that are on the skin. So let's talk about that a little bit.
That's the best part. And I do a lot of marketing in the Midwest because, Kentucky just went medical a few days ago for cannabis, and Tennessee is still not a non-cannabis state at this point. So I've been talking a lot to the Midwest because I figure out all the people that need a lot of education right now, they're the non-cannabis states. So with me, I'm a product that you can buy across 50 states, and so if you can, Davina's as well. But the thing with mine is, if you get the really bad sunburn or you have this horrible dry skin, you're almost immediately in a day or two going to see a result. So to me, this is showing them the powers in the plant all across the board. So if they see what it's doing to their skin, then they're going to say, maybe I should try that Element Apothec CBD, the CBN for the nighttime to sleep. Maybe I need to try that. It's going to I'm kind of the gateway to the rest of the plant, if I could say that, because I'm actually showing them the result. So it's much quicker. But with Davina, I wanted to tell her a really good idea is to tell your clients to journal. Especially when they're have a journal.
That's a good point.
And just like when I was trying to get my mom body back from after having my son, I had to journal everything I put in my mouth. I had to know what I ate all day long until I got to where I wanted to be at. And the same way with Davina, if she just gets them a little journal going at night and keeps that journal going, and they can even do some reflection in that journal, like asking them how they feel. I'm working on a journal right now for skincare. About people doing self-care and having them kind of come in a little bit at what they're doing. Did you get to rub your moisturizer from head to toe today? If you didn't, you probably didn't stop and take care of yourself like you should, because you need that minute for yourself in the restroom to take that time to really nurture your skin. It is the largest organ your body has. I think we should also point that out. It is the largest, and we wear it on the outside. So it is extremely important to all the girls that go out and get their fingernails done and don't put anything on their face. Please, God, stop going to the nail salon and get them wet.
On that note, we're going to close the book.
Well, I want Mandy to say, how do we reach you, Mandy?
Potency710.com.
Spell that out.
And I did want to...
POTNCY 710.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did want to just add to that, because we do also have a transdermal patch and skincare as well. So it definitely is such a different conversation, right? Because a transdermal patch, you are going to feel something within a shorter period of time and see quicker results with these different types of products. So it really is understanding the types of products and understanding how you need it to work and the amount of time it's going to take to
all
work.
of which is why
that means we will need to re-invite them, Paul.
I was going to say, that's why we have to have them to come back and talk more about this. Yeah.
We'll have to have you back to talk more.
He's gonna have to bring his
Bring your wife this time. I want to meet your wife.
She
Paul.
doesn't know I talk about her like
your
this.
Wife for years now.
She'd be so mad.
I
You
want to
talk
meet
about me like this. But yeah, she's the consumer. She's the one you're trying to reach here all the time. Yeah. And she really just looks at packaging and asks people in the store, or looks on the website and kind of has this gut reaction to it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Davina. Thank you, Mandy. And thank you, Paul, for bringing your wife again to the conversation. Let's meet her next time.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
There you have it. One more great reason to tune in each and every time to Health Talks, to hear about the complexities putting CBD into your life. All the things you need to know. right here in Orange County's only community radio station, streaming live from our studio here at the University of California, Irvine's Beal Applied Innovation Center.